Welcome everyone to Labs Weekly number 13, lucky number 13. Joining us today, we have a couple of Dans, Matt, Adam, and myself. And today we wanted to talk quickly about InfoSec, security, cybersecurity, app security, network security, cloud security, all the securities, and some tips and things for staying on top of security and keeping yourself involved and learning the new hotness that's going on, because things are ever changing. We've come up with a few good tips here to do some of those things. So I'll just query the team. I know, Adam, this was kind of your idea to talk about because you've got a good list of ideas, and I'll kind of start with you.
Yeah, thanks, David. I know that when I was getting more involved in security, it seemed like just a ton of information that I couldn't process or handle it all. Nor could I, find specific things or communities where people were talking about security on a regular basis, and I wanted to be more involved in the security field than I had been in previous careers, and so I started to seek some of that out, and I have a couple, just a list of things that I've done that I found extremely helpful. One was I sought out local groups, and if they didn't exist or they didn't exist in an official capacity, I helped create them. I'm based out of Omaha, Nebraska, and we have a DEF CON 402 group, which is a local DEF CON group that meets up once a month to discuss cybersecurity. And we have a wide range of hacking type topics, from like creating your own RC lawnmower to last night we talked about the Orange Book of the Rainbow series, which is old DoD books. So it covered a lot, and right away just getting involved in that community really helped just increase knowledge, and just where I had somebody to talk to or people to talk to about the latest and greatest vulnerabilities. We started our own Slack channel. I've joined several local Slack channels over the years too. And one of the other things that I did was different professions process information and disseminate it in a variety of ways. If you're a mortgage underwriter, you might get notices, from the government, and then they might get passed around in PDFs. One of the best ways that I've noticed information getting out in the world of cybersecurity is Twitter. And so I've actually curated my Twitter newsfeed to just information security topics. I don't follow celebrities. I don't, really follow friends. I think I follow my wife, who's never tweeted. But I've curated that, so it's a good source of news as well, because I've noticed that in terms of information security industry, that's one of the best places to get new information, to get fresh information, and to get it on a pretty regular basis. So yeah, those are the main areas that I would definitely recommend. Slack, join groups, and then check out Twitter. I'd be interested what the rest of the team has to say, what they do to keep up to date.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the Slack groups, Slack or Discord or Keybase, or, whatever your fancy might be. There's definitely a lot of niche groups, a lot of people in the industry that have stood up, free Slack servers and things like that. And the great thing about the industry is people are most times willing to share stories and details. And, if you have a question like, hey, I'm looking at this company to bring in their product, has anyone used it? And people are always really willing to jump on there and answer some questions. I will caveat your Twitter with definitely curate your list. 100% curated. There is a lot of trash. There's a lot of drama. in the quote unquote InfoSec community. Um, I can tell you right now, I heavily use the mute button. It's a very, very powerful tool that Twitter allows you to use. So you can quickly unmute someone, maybe a month later or whatever else. But Twitter is a really good resource if you have the time to curate the list. One thing we do here internally that, I don't use a ton, but we've curated basically a conglomeration of RSS feeds from across a bunch of different, security feeds from, MITRE to NIST to, some of the, security world type places that is updated frequently. And it just is kind of a rolling feed. So, we definitely use that internally. I will say, the industry is very networking friendly. I miss the days of being able to go hang out with the groups, face to face. It's mostly all virtual now. It definitely makes it tougher to feel a part of that community. But I think a lot of the local chapters, like Adam mentioned, have adapted to the times and how they've changed. I think some of them are even starting to do like small group in-person settings, maybe outdoors or, in a bigger building with some distancing and things like that. So, we're hackers by nature, so we're gonna figure this out and get things going. But throughout my career, that has been the really the area where I've spent a lot of time in networking and meeting people and, getting out in the community. And it makes it very easy to be like, hey, I know this guy who's over here, this woman who's over there. I'm sure she's worked on this, so I'll just reach out to her directly, and she's, more than happy to help me out. So
yeah, the information overload is kind of crazy though. Like there's definitely an abundance of information. It's hard to filter through everything. Like I typically look at some of the like news sources and stuff like Hacker News, and I watch Reddit like NetSec and the web security research. I'm pretty hands off on Twitter, to be honest. Like I go on there every once in a while, but to me it's like I haven't curated my list, and so there's just a ton of people that I follow, and every once in a while I'll catch up on it. But most of the important like news and events stuff bubbles up through the other communities that I'm in, like Slack and Discord and that type of thing. So like the best thing for me is having a kind of a tight knit group of people that tend to share around kind of what's going on, and that helps filter through more of just the random InfoSec banter that that happens on Twitter. The one thing that I do like doing for looking at specifically for like bug bounty and OffSec research is reading the recent HackerOne reports that are made public. I'll go back through every once in a while and read through several of the top reports that that are shared on the platform to see what type of techniques they're using. That's great for like web app techniques and stuff. As far as like other OffSec like NetSec and like red teaming and type stuff is really just through targeted blogs and some of the people that I follow.
cool. I think Matt had some stuff to say.
Yeah, I will say that it's definitely rough not being able to go to conferences and meet people in person and things like that. But I think one of the good things that's come out of that is that a lot of the meetups and also a lot of the OWASP and other meetups that were only in person are now available online. So there was a couple of interesting, Bay Area OWASP meetups that obviously I couldn't go to. I don't live in the Bay Area, but because they're now virtual, anyone can attend them. So I've actually attended, even driving to the local one is kind of a pain sometimes, depending on the time of day or getting out of the house to go, or being able to go and come back in time to take care of the kids. But if I can do a virtual one and it takes an hour and I'm still at home, I'm actually able to attend a few more things. Nothing beats going and talking in person, but if there is an upside, I think that's been one of them for me. I've gone to 3 or 4 meetups that I definitely would not have attended otherwise. On the Twitter front, I also curate. I did find that there's a lot of like amplification, and there are some people that I thought were good source of information, but all they do is retweet other people's tweets. So it does take some curating. You go through and figure out who actually posts content and who just retweets everything. And you have two options. You could just follow the people that retweet everything and you don't have to follow anyone else, or you could go try to curate each of the people to follow. I found the people that just retweet things to be more annoying and not providing their own personal value. But to be honest, if you just followed them, you would get 90% of the data that you need. There's a lot to wade through, and it's time consuming and a time suck for sure. But it seems like one of the places that has the most recent information, and things are discussed pretty openly, and a good place now that RSS feeds and a lot of the other things have mostly gone away besides a few select sources.
You definitely need time to curate it. There's also ways you can mute phrases, like if you wanted to mute politics, for example, at this time of year, then you don't have that, going through your feed as well. But yeah, I agree with what these guys said. It did take me a while to, become comfortable and happy with the people I follow and the news I ingest.
Yeah, I think, Matt, I think one thing that you also do that you maybe failed to mention is you get involved in some user groups, if you want to call them that, like the Electron community, Node community, things like that you've spent some time just like getting to know people that way. And, while it's more focused on the code there, you're there for the security aspects, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Node security working group, which I haven't been as involved as I'd like to, but that user group is focused on like node module and node module security and stuff, and they do really interesting things. But honestly, the discussion in some of the Slack rooms around that is really interesting. And so yeah, some of the Electron stuff as well is it's general Electron things, but they have security focused rooms and things that have good conversations about what's going on, and people pop in all the time with security type questions and stuff. So focusing on the code that you're interested in or the code that you work on, focusing on those user groups is also going to have interesting security conversations inevitably.
And we're focused on application security, our team, but there's also like a red teaming aspect, and I know that there are ways to stay up to date on that too, like Hack the Box or Pentester Lab, to do new labs as they roll out. There's I think 2 or 3 like good services that you can pay a monthly fee and get a subscription, where you can attack like new vulnerable images as they roll out. So that'd be a good way to keep up your chops as a red teamer as well.
Yeah, and participating in CTFs, right? I mean, Dan mentioned HackerOne, reading through some of those reports, and frankly, a lot of the good CTFs, they utilize some of those reports to basically write that sort of exploit into their CTFs. And that's a way that we here internally at Contrast have really helped keep us up to snuff, I guess, if you will, with the newest security exploits and things. So
there are a few mailing lists and things like that, a few websites that I try to follow, and I know you guys do some podcasts that I think have been really decent. And then one other thing that was by Clint Gilbert, I think is his name. He has the TLDR Sec.
Oh, I was just about to say that. Yeah,
website. I think that's been really good, and he just goes and does write-ups or mini write-ups from a ton of talks all over the place, which is really good for stuff that you can't make or for stuff that's going on. I think his stuff has been really, really good.
He has a newsletter too that you can sign up for.
Yeah.
Or you get I think it's weekly newsletter. I'm on that newsletter.
Yeah, there's a few newsletters that I think are worth doing. I generally don't like newsletters because they're spammy and stuff, but I've enjoyed it. Sure.
And videos from conferences as they happen too. A lot of times people will post videos almost right away. I know DEF CON is one of them that posts within a month or something of the conference. That's always a good place to look for information that you're interested in. It's not kind of nice if you couldn't attend the conference that you get to still watch the talk. So, and now with everything virtual, recording and clicking them to upload is even easier. So, I'd be curious, Quack, I know that you're a little more in touch with the cloud area than the rest of us. Do you have any ways that you stay up to date in that arena?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on a lot of good ones, right? We touched on your Twitter, we touched on blog posts, we touched on news feeds. I think those cover a lot of the basis in the cloud world. I mean, you see a lot of these compromises that happen in the cloud space from somebody leaving a bucket over permissive, or not following best practices. And there's a bunch of different tools that each cloud provider will provide to help you out. And there's also just a great sense of if you need a problem or you're trying to find something to learn, there's a bunch of people out there that are willing to help. Great mentor programs that you can find. I find that there's a lot of people I follow on Twitter that are always saying, hey, I would love to mentor you. If you're looking for a mentor, like, hit me up. And my DMs are open, or reach out to me publicly, like however you feel comfortable, and happy to connect you with people, or have a short conversation or whatnot.
Yeah, that's great, Quack. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. For the most part, I don't think there's like a blueprint, and that's kind of like security in general. There's no real blueprint for security. Do what works for you. Some people just aren't Twitter folks. Some people love it. Some people aren't CTF people, and some people love it. I mean, the gambit is there, but I think we've been around long enough that we've seen people adapt to the changing climates and things like that. But the same sorts of things still do work. Keeping the feeds that work for you alive. And I don't know if anyone else had any closing thoughts. No? All right. Well, thanks everyone. Feel free to leave comments in the chat below, and we'll see you again next time.
The 0-day heat will spray, clear the way if the log file touch, get your hard line cut. Number 2, never let them know your next move. Don't you know bad boys move in silence and pirate, taken from your wireless. I done flashed mad chips with these hacks just to patch these bits. Number 3, never trust nobody. IRC is